Home, the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's kicking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Move for the win. Team Canada. Garrett Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Yo, Canada and the rest of the world, you're listening to the Huckin Eh podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo and Danie. From Toronto, Ontario, but recording from Kingston, Ontario.
And I'm Danie Proby. I'm from Vancouver, BC, recording in New West. And together we are your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Okay, I know I outed you accidentally about work. Can you now officially inform people why you're in Kingston?
Yeah, last time that was funny. That was 2 weeks ago now. So thank you for joining us for this episode. I am in Kingston. I am the new sports information promotions coordinator at RMC, otherwise known as Royal Military College of Canada, in their athletics department. So get to do something I've wanted to do for the last few years, been pushing towards. So yeah, get to write stories, do social media, work with streaming and just roster stats, all the good stuff for the college teams here. So super excited. I'm in Kingston, Ontario. Hopefully going to get out and play some Frisbee with the local 613 folks. Any local 613 players in the Huckin Eh audience, hit me up, or I'll see you in league or something. I don't know. So yeah, that's been my, that's why we couldn't record last week. Let's just be transparent with the audience here. Danie and I were both very busy, so we just first week on the job, you know how it is. So I couldn't do it, and Danie, you were busy as well. So that is why we had a bit of a delay.
Yeah, first of all, congrats. I think you're so brave to, both of us have left teaching to kind of pursue more of our dreams, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. So I want to acknowledge you for stepping out into the world and kind of pushing for something that you really wanted to do. And new jobs are scary. So crushing it. The fact that you're sort of settled in and able to record this week is it's a pleasure to be back on air with you, Mr. Theo on. For me, sectionals was fun, but I ended up having to take myself out of Sunday games and then practices kind of after that because I have some Achilles pain since Pro Champs, just a bit of an overuse injury with high volume of practices and tournaments all kind of in one little cluster of time. So I'm kind of dealing with that, which has been annoying, but physio says I'm good to play through it. I just need to be careful going into tournaments. So I'm doing a lot of cycling, a lot of walking, a lot of lifting, but not any sprinting. So this weekend should be fun. Excited to actually run around again and just take painkillers. You know how it is.
Oh gosh, that is definitely been done in Ultimate, and you're not the first or the last. Is it recommended? Probably not. Will it still be done till the end of time? Absolutely. So yeah, you do you. I'm excited to see regionals results. We're going to be talking about that in the news, and also recap sectionals because with that delay, we actually didn't get to talk about it. So some interesting sectionals results, other things coming up in the news, and we'll go there right now.
We now have breaking news.
Welcome to your news section. So lots to update everybody on, but first, close to my heart, the U24 assistant coaches finally announced. So I know it took a while for everybody to kind of get approved and kind of go through all the channels. Appreciate everyone for their patience. It's funny because the applications for the team were out for such a long time before people even knew who the assistant coaches were. So I think after that announcement happened, we saw more applications flood in for all three of the teams because people are quite excited to play for these assistants. So I'm really, really excited to announce them. Theo, before I even say who they are, any initial thoughts when you saw the announcement?
Some, what's the word? New blood. Some people that I don't think I've seen coach U24s before. I mean, my memory could be wrong, but I like that there's a new infusion of coaches. And yeah, it's going to be fire. We Canada needs some hardware coming up here in 2023, and assistant coaches, if you're listening, help, and head coaches, help us. Let's get there. We're going to celebrate as a country and party like it's 1997, So excited for what that holds. And I'll let you people probably know who the coaches are, but Danie, why don't you announce them as well, like per division and that kind of stuff?
All right, so we're going to start off with the mixed division because these are the people that I selected. So to kind of give you a little bit of background information, I do this huge scorecard, and I have a scorecard of all the things I'm either looking for because I value them, or there are things that I think that I'm deficient in. So things that I need other people to kind of be stronger in to support me. So basically I interview people and they get a score and a ranking on all of these things. And I add up the score, and the top 2 scoring people were the people that I chose. And so we have Jeremy Hill out of Ottawa. So he's played U24 mixed twice, captained. He's obviously been playing GOAT and Phoenix and Outlaws and stuff. So very, very experienced player and really likes mixed. And then I also selected Pete Galbraith. So if you're looking to play for local 613, he's the person you got to talk to there, Theo. So he's done a couple cycles of U24 assistant coaching. So for me, that was just an easy decision. He's very experienced. We're going to work really well together. I'm stoked. Okay. For the women's team, the first assistant coach is Alex Davis, who normally is the head coach of the mixed team. So he brings his analytical nature to the women's squad, which is exciting. And then Isabelle Lemay will also be an assistant coach for the women's team. She's been working with Mephisto, Royale, and her and Fish just get along super well. So that's going to be a dream team. Now for the open team, we have Chris Artabello. He's from Calgary. He's been playing and coaching different versions of Team Canada's, different versions of club teams. I also interviewed him. He is phenomenal. So I'm super excited that he gets this opportunity. I think he's going to be really dedicated and offer a lot to that open team. And last but not least, we have Edward Guo hailing from Vancouver. So obviously just had a very successful CJUCs with Eclipse and had a very successful WUC with Red Flag. And so he gets an opportunity to show that on this open team as well. And I mean, I could also say that he is also coaching UBC Open as well. So lots of good things coming down the pipes for Guo. Super excited. We don't normally get this many assists. So it feels very privileged to be able to get to work with this many awesome and different types of coaches. So it's good to get them in the system.
Yeah, it gives them experience that you can't get elsewhere, obviously. And so it's a very privileged position. And I know each of those coaches will take it very seriously and know the responsibility entails. So good luck to you, Danie, and the rest of the coaching staff. We're stoked. I know tryouts are not too far away, folks. Well, more so in the Ottawa one. I know the West one's a little bit in November, but
yeah,
the tryouts are coming up. So we're going to start to see what's going on,
Yeah, the deadline for the application, I think when this comes out, it'll be a couple days before, but when we're recording it, it was just yesterday. So I feel like it's record-breaking applications. We can't accept everybody. So right now we're kind of going through the process of going through and checking references and seeing what club teams people played on, because it's a lot. It's hundreds of applications. So it's really amazing to see this much interest. So especially after having a couple years of no ultimate, it's awesome seeing the flood of them. So many of them last minute. So many of them on the last day. 50 on the last day. It was hilarious.
Yeah, probably 50 in the last hour if I know ultimate players, especially more college age-based ultimate players. That sounds about right. That they would have applied within when people hand in their assignment.
11:59.
Yeah, like I used to do that. It would be 11:50. I'm like, okay, is it finally done? Okay, hand it in. So I get that.
Yeah, same.
Now we're gonna talk sectionals. You talked about in the intro, so we're gonna actually talk about it. We're gonna start in the Washington section, even though Vancouver is not there, but that's a section you play in. We'll start with women's. From what we talked about off air, all the teams that want to go are going. correct?
Yeah,
Everyone's
all the
going?
teams that want to go to regionals from sectionals can go.
Yeah. And so Drift, shout out, winning a game. You're going to regionals. Hucklebears from Victoria didn't win a game, but hey, you're going to regionals too. So a chance to get some dubs over there. They had a chance to play Drift again at the end, but that game was canceled, which, Danie, you can speak to a little bit more because you and your traffic compadres there were going to play Riot in the final, but that was also canceled. So talk a little bit about what happened there before we jump into open and mixed for that same section.
Yeah, there was, it was kind of strange because like as we were leaving Vancouver and crossing the border, I was like, you know what? It's been amazing because there's been no like issues with smoke and forest fires in BC. And every year we have to like cancel camps or we can't practice for a couple weeks because of smoke. And it was like September. We're like, this is like the first time in recent history that I remember a summer that we didn't have these types of cancellations. We're driving across the border. We go into Washington. We're like, oh, it's very smoky here. And so some people were playing in masks. We were very much focusing on being as efficient as possible when we were playing our games. So we wanted to like go out, take care of business. So we didn't have to like honestly breathe too much. And so we were being very efficient on day one, but the smoke was just too bad on day two. And by the time we got to the second round of games, they just told everyone that the games weren't going to count after that and that they had canceled everything. So we didn't get to play Riot, unfortunately. I know you're going to be talking about Open, but the Furious and Sockeye final was also canceled, but they decided to play a quick game to 3 anyways. So it was pretty funny. It was fun to watch. Furious lost by 1 break in their game to 3.
Did it actually count towards like the results though?
No.
Oh, okay.
Of course not.
Okay. Yeah. So Furious goes 3-0 in pool play. Surf, I was high up on this Surf squad. I know they didn't go to CUC, but unfortunately they go 0-3 in pool play. They lose their first bracket game and they gone. So sorry, Surf, high hopes, but not there this time around. In mixed, Red Flag goes 2-0 in pool play. They kind of had a 4-pool setup. They lost to Mixtape in the semis 12-9. Obviously a much better result than what we saw, I guess would have been more than a couple months ago now from WUC. And they were in the second place bracket, but once again, that was all canceled up. Together Forever, players from different Vancouver mixed teams, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's some Forever Young, some TT, like just a mix. They went winless in pool play. They had to play again the next weekend to settle like if they could actually make it to regionals. They won their first game, but then lost the game to go 14-12. That's tough.
I didn't know that they had to go play the next weekend.
Well, because according to the USA Ultimate schedule, like your games were like the 10th, but then theirs was like 17-18. And it says, and I talked to someone on that team and he said, like, yeah, they had to play.
Wow. So. Oh, interesting. Why are you giving me intel about BC teams? Thank you. One thing I do want to note,
but now you know.
In the Red Flag mixtape game, I think it was 7-2 at half, or something like that. Like I think Red Flag ended up kind of generating some breaks and some momentum. So I think that they looked really good. They looked really confident, kind of, especially near the end of the game. Yeah, a shout out to Abir Lamba for getting a nice Sky D on Khalif. It was awesome. Got to watch.
UBC product, correct?
Yeah, Vortex to UBC. And U20
nice.
back in 2018.
I like the pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to move on to the Northwest Plains now. In the open division, we had General Strike heading down there. They ended up going 1-1 in pool play, and they lost their crossover to Mallard 15-5. Not a score that you love to have. So they had to play in the play-in game for 8th, and they ended up losing to the Nomads 15-14. That's a heartbreaker. So playing in the game to go for 10th, and then they lost that to 15-11, a little bit less close. This is Theo's note. Did the lose see ya? I know, is that a Charlie thing?
That is a Charlie thing. He said it before, and I thought it was hilarious. Basically, you have 2 chances to make it to either regionals or nationals, whatever it is, and you lose both times. It's the lose see ya. So, unfortunately, General Strike, we had you on last week. Maybe we cursed you by having you on. I don't know. And also, little caveat for the audience. It wasn't full General Strike. Like they talked about on the podcast. It's not their full team. they're trying to bring out one of their older players or person that played in Kyle Parker who was on the show. So clearly they were looking for bodies. So just take that for what you will. The U.S. series wasn't their main focus, but they still did the lose-lose. See ya. Okay. Upstate New York women's Sixers, congratulations. You beat nobody because no one's in the section apparently. So you did your own thing. Saw that on Instagram. That was fun. Open, Goat finishes first, defeating Phoenix in the final, 15-12. Phoenix, you get second. Thought that this Dynasty team, a bunch of GTA players, Hound, Bo, GT, kind of mixed there. Thought that they would give you a scare, but they go down 15-8. So I do feel bad for the teams from like Albany and like Syracuse, wherever they are, because I played that section, and they don't like the fact that all these Canadian teams just come and take the bids. You know, it's not a fun thing for them, but it happens. In mixed, Union goes 3-1 in pool play. Ended up in a three-way tie there. But we're still able to continue marching forward in their tournament. Backdoor bracket, they eventually beat Lake Effect in the game to go 15-3. And then they didn't play against Townies for the 2-3 spot. Townies had lost the final earlier. So they finished third by virtue of losing to Townies earlier in the tournament, from what I've been told. Zen, the B team of Union, congratulations. You beat Garbage Plates B team. So that's a good W for you. I think it was Zen and Friends, not the full Zen squad there. But yeah, we're going to move to East New England, Danny. I'm just going to keep going here if that's cool. I'm just going to mosey through the results. Open, Red Circus. You got to love this for the Halifax group. They come in second. They take care of pool play. They beat Needham squad in semis, but they lose to Dig in the finals 15-8. So what that tells me, Danny, is that they still have like they're there, but it's like not there yet for like trying to get to that national stage, because Dig is a team that I predict will be going to nationals. So you never know with sectionals results. Some teams like, they're just tired or whatever, but I still take it as a, tough result for them. This is the region I want to talk about, or section.
It's
so
spicy.
West New England.
It's so spicy.
As a fan of their jerseys, this hurts me to talk about this. I really do, because I love the Montreal Expos inspired. Dan, do you want to say the news so I don't have to bear to actually say it?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of talked about this on Deep Look too. So in the open division, Mephisto,
yes, they did.
They did talk about it. Mephisto bows out, so they end up losing to Tire Biz Frizz.
Sick name.
Who, though? And then they ended up losing to Manic 15-14. Manic loses to Sprout in the game to go 15-6, so it gets crushed. So, Theo, do you have any insights about what happened here? Because Manic is essentially the B team, right?
Yeah, more or less. I know they're probably going to take exception to that, but I think that is true. So, I don't know exactly what happened in the game. But I know it's not the result, obviously, Mephisto wanted. It's tough because they were originally going to go to CUC. They didn't go. That Royale had kind of a disappointing finish, even from what my perspective. I thought they were going to possibly make the playoffs this year based on how they did last year in the Canada Cup. And so overall, just kind of a disappointing end to their season. And Tire Biz Frizz. I mean, you're getting some hype right now on Deep Look. These University of Vermont kids. So you did the job, and it was shocking when I heard about it, Danny, because I remember us talking back and forth, messaging about it. Like, did this really happen? That's what we're asking you.
Definitely disbelief, and we're like having to check like the scores online and be like, I don't understand. So would have loved to kind of have seen what had happened to kind of get a little bit better idea. So it's too bad, because I think that there's a lot of hype around that team, and I think rightfully so. They have a lot of really talented athletic players, well coached. So next season, you got it. Moving into the women's division, Iris goes undefeated. Every team that wants to go is going to go to regionals in this section, but they defeated a good Starling team 11-10. So tight game, didn't get to point cap. Obviously, lots of turnovers, so probably quite a grindy game. But again, Iris going undefeated. We love to hear it.
We do. We're gonna preview the regionals now. Should I preview Northwest, or do you want to do Northwest?
You can preview it. I can add my color commentary.
Yeah, add the color. Audience, I'm going to say this. I've said this before probably. I can't wait to commentate with Danie one day.
I'm just gonna make fun of you the whole time.
Danie, I just can't wait for it. So one day it's going to happen. I don't know when.
One day.
Okay, women's traffic. You are the number 1 seed.
Say less.
3 bids, correct?
Yeah.
Am I dreaming? No, 3 bids?
Yep.
Drift, you're the 8 seed. Hucklebears, you're the 10 seed. Let's make some noise out there. Drift and Hucklebears, excited. Yeah, there's bids to be had. Let's see what happens. Open, Furious, the 3 seed. Here, there's only 2 bids, so just remember that. If they finish second in their pool, which based on their seeding they would, they kind of have to go through the backdoor bracket, which is tougher. There's some teams in there that can give them some trouble beyond just Sockeye and Rhino. So I think it's going to be tough for them, but I'm rooting them on.
Do you have any insight as to why Rhino is the number 1 seed?
Should they not be the number 1 seed?
Why are they the number 1 seed? Sockeye is higher ranked than them.
That is a great question. And Sockeye did do better than them at WUC, if I remember correctly.
And WUC wouldn't come into account. I don't think they would count that. So
interesting.
It is interesting because I think that's tough for Furious to be 3 seed with the 2 seed being Sockeye.
Yeah.
I
mean, they've beaten Rhino before the season, albeit early. They split it there at Summer Solstice, and Rhino did beat them at WUC. So,
have you ever seen Chasing Sarasota? Just as a tangent.
Okay, you know what? Since you set me up, this is unplanned, but yes, I love that documentary. Almost before every regional tournament, I would watch that documentary and just experience their pain over and over. Oh, such a good documentary. Check it out. I'm not sure if it's still on YouTube.
I think
because it was paid before, and then they made it free. So
I just watched it.
Check it out.
I think that was for Furious. They're like, we're gonna go steal the bid from Rhino. May as well watch it happen.
Yeah, Chasing Sarasota, great documentary, really well done. Also,
really,
the production and stuff.
It's good. Makes you feel bad for Rhino, even though you're rooting for the Furious Jorge. Furioso.
Well, I think that they do a good job of storytelling, and it's funny because Dylan Freechild's on that team, but he's not really a main character in that because he was I think just a sophomore in college, and
he was on the Next Gen tour at the time.
Yeah, so he wasn't. There were some other characters that you get to. I say characters, but it's like a movie that you get to know. Mario O'Brien being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Melius. There's a bunch of others. I could talk about that documentary all day. I won't. I'll save the audience from that, but please check it out. Gonna go to mixed here. Red flag going. 3 bids, definitely doable. I know we got BFG and mixtape, but they got to take down a Moondog squad. There's no Boise Loxa this year. Moondog, I think, red flag. I think you can do it. Danie, thoughts?
I mean, they were tight. They lost by 3 to mixtape. I think there's ample opportunities for them to get a bid here. I think obviously the easiest one is going to be Moondog because BFG and Mixtape are 2 of the strongest mixed teams in the United States. So I think Moondog is the lowest hanging fruit, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Upset Central.
Upset Central. So we're going to go northwest or northeast, and I'll let you...
Oh, sorry. Before...
Oh, do you have something else?
Yeah, I do. Quick shout out to 2 pickups for flag. We had Danae Jan and Lauren Sidofung from TCU20 / Eclipse, both legitimately still in high school, marking up against Kellyanne Johnson. And it was awesome. We see this grade 11 having no idea that she's marking up against Frisbee royalty, a literal legend, fearless. It was so sick. I think Lauren even got a goal. And I just want to shout out for those 2 for being fearless athletes.
And then now we're gonna go northeast. I guess I'll just go through it, Danie, here. Northeast right now. Women's no schedule yet, so I actually can't even tell you who seeded what. Sixers going, Iris going. It's gonna be tough. 2 bids. Brute Squad has been looking a little bit down, but I still think they're gonna get the bid. I'm not sure if Bent's gonna take it from them or Iris, but they could prove me wrong. Mixed, 2 bids as well. Union coming as I believe the 14 or 13 seed, the kind of low seed. They're going to take on Sprocket, and it's going to be kind of if you lose that first bracket, you kind of move into the second place bracket. So it's going to be tough sledding for all the Northeast teams besides Sixers, to be honest. Like Goat, Phoenix, Red Circus in the Open, no schedule yet, 2 bids. You got one team there that everyone knows in Pony, and then you got Dig. So
Good luck.
It's going to be tough, is all I'm saying. It's going to be tough.
All right, let's do a little transition, because this is a funny time of year where we get lots and lots of Ultimate, because not only do we have the USA Club season kind of coming to a peak, a lot of teams' seasons are kind of, peaking right now. They're either ending or we're going to Club Nationals, and it's very exciting. At the same time, university is just getting started. We're seeing lots of rosters being announced. All these local tournaments are happening to see who's going to get bids to see UCs. So University Series is upon us.
There was a warm-up tournament.
There was.
That may play into some rankings we'll talk about later. But all I'll say in the this Quebec warm-up tournament is who won and by the score. And you can make your own judgments in the audience. Early season before their Quebec qualifier, which is coming up this weekend, don't think any of the teams really had their full squads. Could be wrong, but from what I was told through our Instagram DMs, that was the case. So in Open, you're defending champs, national champions. Montreal defeats McGill. Get ready for this scoreline, folks. 15-3. Okay, 15-3. Laval in the women's division. Thought it might be rebuilding for them because a lot of names I don't recognize, which is fine. They take down McGill by the same scoreline, 15-3. What's going on there?
That's not even a game. Like 15-3 that's a statement. And it's not a scrub team. Like, we know there's a lot of good players that are going to those teams that are new, and they have a lot of established players. So I know some people were missing, but what? Like, maybe they're setting us up for an eventual late season, come from behind, see, we told you we were good kind of experience. But 15-3 is pretty lopsided.
It's kind of like when you shark someone in pool. Perhaps they were trying to do something like that, where they're trying to like trick their opponents into thinking they're not as strong as they are. Because, like I said, 15-3 is I can't even think of many games I've seen that end up in that scoreline, Danie, is all I'm saying. So that's just tough. Tough preseason look. But you get a chance to redeem yourselves this weekend. Unfortunately, but with the time we had to record this week, we're not able to get some of the schedules out, but there is a Quebec qualifier. There's Steeltown as well happening in Ontario. So with that being said, there's going to be some players missing from multiple teams in Ontario specifically that will be playing with Phoenix or other teams like Goat or whoever. So that could play into some seedings and how things end up. So without the schedule, I don't know if I can accurately predict who's going to win, is all I'm saying, Danie. I want to know where it lines up.
We still have very little information. We need more tournaments to happen to kind of be able to actually make a better prediction. But, I mean, you do have some top 10 rankings here. And I know that you're not going to sauce them all out in the podcast. You're going to try to draw people's attention to our Instagram. But these are pretty interesting top 10s, I must say so.
Yeah, all I'll say to leave you in suspense, probably by this time this comes out, the graphic will be out, but either way, this is based on who I know is returning, who we know is returning, I should say, who they've added. McGill, like, I was hyped up on McGill women's, especially because they added Nina Prevost, and I was like, let's go. Like, that's a fire addition on the roster. But I'm not sure if Nina was there at that tournament, but 15-3, like I said, that's tough. So McGill had to slide them down a little bit there. But there's some teams that are going to be coming that want some redemption, is all I'm going to say. Specifically, a team from your neck of the woods.
Hey, they got some things shaken up. So I've been actually watching their tryouts all of the open teams tryouts at UBC. And it's so exciting because they didn't have that many spots, and they had about 30 people that I was like, that person could be a contributor, or that person could like get some blocks. Like it was very exciting. They've made their official roster. I don't think it's definitely not announced yet. I think people are kind of in that acceptance phase right now. So I'm excited by this. They also have a new coaching staff. So they still have Tim Sang involved, but we're not sure how much involvement he's going to have.
Is he like an advisor?
Well, because he's going to be in Edmonton and Vancouver, kind of back and forth a little bit. So a little bit more of a backseat role, I think. But Jonah Yash will kind of be overseeing everything. And then we have Ari Niddickman is going to be doing D-line, kind of the defensive coordinator. And then Edward Guo is going to be the offensive coordinator. So totally fresh new look. So curious if they can use those tools, use the fact that their roster's another year more experienced. They didn't graduate that many people. I can't be too hype on them because last time I was like, they're going to win it all. And then they got hella knocked out. So I think that you have them underseeded, but I'm not going to put them at number 1. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I think, honestly, the Huckin Eh hype for UBC and the BC squads, I honestly, truly believe this, fired up everybody else. They were like,
I know.
No way, we're going to prove them wrong. And so we're trying to build the hype again. Let's get the top 10 rankings. Let's stir up some stuff and get people excited. Get them mad at us, that's fine. Prove us wrong. Put it on a t-shirt, a jersey. Say Huckin Eh is wrong. We'll own it. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, I appreciate you making these rankings, even though I don't agree with them. And you're totally wrong. And Huckin Eh is wrong. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see it all.
Yeah, we'll figure out who's right. You know, I'm sure that some of it won't be accurate. I am stoked that from what the DMs tell us, Dalhousie sending in possibly open and women's team. Like, that's fire, because I know they've had female matching players join them on the open side before. And so now they're going to have both teams there. Like, that's kind of cool. I know it doesn't mean automatic qualification. They still got to beat the other teams. But I think they have the talent and experience to beat the other teams in the Atlantic, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's just 8 teams make it into Div 1, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do top 10 because I'm going to say, hey, these are potentially the D2 finishers. There could be an argument that someone make that some divisions could be expanded, but we're going to stay at 8 for now. Last thing I'll say is I love the offensive and defensive coordinator as a football fan. Let's even expand it more. Every Frisbee team should have head coach, offensive handler coordinator, offensive cutter coordinator, and then same on defense. Come on.
That's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, if you ask me.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I like definitely when I'm coaching and I have the luxury of having more than just myself there. If you have 3 people, it's really nice to have like a line caller, an offensive play caller, and a defensive strategy person. Splitting the roles like that is really useful because sometimes when you're calling lines, like you got a lot of stuff going on, and especially if you're trying to make it even playing time, you're trying to rest people. There's like lots of things kind of in management. So I do think having an O, a D, and like a general overall strategy person is a good move. So expect UBC to do better. Actually, I don't want to say that they're going to do better because then they're going to do it
again. You're going to make the same mistake as last time. Don't do it. Is all I'm saying.
Right, UBC is going to tank. It's going to be embarrassing. Yeah, nobody's ever going to want to go to UBC ever again.
But UVic women's is all I'm going to say. There might be some hype for UVic women's. So stay tuned for the rankings.
UVic women has one of my favorite players I have ever worked with in Arabella Brudney. So expect to see Abba out there slinging discs, layout blocking people. It's going to be a good time. Go UVic. I don't know if I can say that anymore.
Yeah, too homery. But now we're going to switch over to main event. As you probably saw from the title, we're going to be talking about a cool topic, gender equity and mixed ultimate. You may have seen some of these graphics on their page, Crux Ultimate's Instagram. So we're going to talk about it. We'll be chatting with Sasha Palmert, one of the captains of the squad, after the break. This episode is brought to you by Be Ultimate Apparel. Based out of Vancouver, BC, Be Ultimate is climate neutral certified and designs products that are built to perform. I personally love my 2 Be Ultimate Sun hoodies, and I rock them wherever I go. If you want to learn more about Be Ultimate, start your custom team order, or check out any of their ready-for-purchase collection, you can head over to beultimate.ca.
Salut, c'est Nina Prévost d'Iris Ultimate et de Team Canada et vous écoutez le podcast Huckin Eh, votre guide d'un océan à l'autre pour Ultimate Canadien.
All right, we're here in the main event. Got a special guest, second time on the show, so that's always fun. But Sasha, we'll get you to introduce yourself again. We're going to be talking mixed ultimate, some gender equity within that, and some of your team's findings with some cool graphics that took over some of the social media a couple weeks ago. So Sasha, why don't you introduce yourself again, how long you've been playing for this Crux team, and your role on the squad?
Hi, I'm Sasha. I've been playing for 2 seasons on Crux, plus or minus some like virtual stuff over the pandemic, and I captained this year.
Right. Taking on some leadership. Was that like a team voted thing, or is that like a coach appointed thing?
I think it was like I don't actually really know. I think it was like the previous leadership group kind of discussed who they wanted to add, as our female captain wasn't returning from the previous season. And then I guess that's how I ended up here.
Congrats. You're pretty young to be a captain. So obviously you're showing some good leadership already. So speaking of leadership, Crux, I think, has done a really good job of being leaders in the community. And speaking more specifically, Crux has these 3 pillars that we kind of grew to learn about this season. Gender equity being one, commitment, and then excellence, the other 2. For this episode, we're specifically going to be targeting and talking about the gender equity piece because it kind of caught some noise this year, and a little bit of the things that your team has done. So I'd love for you to walk us through how your team came together, rather, maybe all 3 pillars, but specifically the gender equity pillar, and what did you do to kind of build on that? Yeah, so I obviously wasn't around for the founding of the team, so to make sure that credit is given where credit is due, and that was like Link, who couldn't make it tonight, and then Miff and Becky, who don't play with the team anymore, but helped found the team. And I think, from my understanding, was something that was very clearly important to them from the start. I think they really believed that if you're a mixed team, you will be better if you maximize all of your players on the field. And that takes concerted effort in sports to kind of make sure that you're doing that, because the bias is often to not do that. So from the start, Crux had an equal. So even before the ratio rule A, Crux took an equal ratio of like open and female matching players. And then when they were able to select the gender ratio on the field, they alternated selecting open and female matching, having 4 players on the field. And that was something that they were committed to from the beginning. They were also very committed to having equal number of open and women matching handlers and cutters. So oftentimes we notice that mixed teams will tend to be male dominated in the handler roles and then women dominated in the cutting roles. But they were committed to kind of allowing women matching players to have that space to develop as handlers as well. And I think a big part of the reason that this was such a focus for them from the beginning is that gender equity is a large part of the Hamilton ultimate scene. Again, even before kind of Ultimate Canada instated some of the rules that sort of prescribe gender equity when playing mixed, our league has played equal ratio. So our sixes league is 3-3-3, our fours league is 2-2, and our sevens league in the summer alternates the 4-3. And that's kind of the way that it's been for quite a while, which has kind of created this culture in Hamilton that gender equity is just a part of Frisbee, and that's what the expectation will be.
Love 6-on-6 like mixed. That might be a peek into what we might be talking about subscriber only, but that's I love that. But let's move on to this year. Had a chance to actually film your team at regionals, a big universe point win against Danger Noodle, and your team did really well at regionals, I believe. And someone on your team might fact check this, but best regionals finish ever. Is that correct? Do you know if
Link's going to fact check you? He told me that we finished 4th in 2018, but he caveated it that the competition was significantly less in 2018. I think there was less teams there.
Okay, we'll say tied or did really well at regionals. We're going to say that while also keeping its focus on gender equity. So you kind of talked about what the team has done kind of in the past in the beginning, but were there certain things that your team focused on this year specifically, or anything that you can speak about there that maybe can give some audience some inspiration here?
Yeah, I think one thing that we noticed a little bit, that even when we were reading the question and the way that it's worded a little bit, kind of says like we did our best ever regional finish while also doing this, but we think we did our best ever regional finish because we did this. Because we were using all of the players on the field so well, and like taking advantage of the best matchups wherever they are, regardless of the gender of the player, that we were able to do so well. And so part of that is having had that development. So most of our female matching players have been a part of the system, whether it's been virtually over the pandemic or having played previously, and so have developed kind of through the year. So initially may not have made us like right out of the gun as strong as possible, but it kind of did let us build and develop our female matching players to be stronger to compete this year. So we think that was kind of like why we were so successful this year. And I think also it created a culture where there wasn't a lot of, I guess, I don't know if ego is the right word from our open matching players, but there was no like issue or I guess like concern. Like if the women matching players had the best matchup, then they were the ones put in the isolation positions, or they were the ones that were running deep for the huck, or they were the ones that were throwing it. And I think that also like you have to create and spend time creating a culture where it is easier for the open matching players to step aside, because oftentimes the instinct is to go to them, and it can be hard to acknowledge when the women matching players have a better matchup or a higher chance of success.
I love how you kind of reframe that question, because I think it's really important. And I also love how you're highlighting how much time it takes to develop this culture, and that it's not just something you can say as a pillar and have it translate on the field, that it's a concerted effort over time to build trust, to build confidence for female matching players. When you genuinely feel like the male matching players on your team trust you with the disc, they call you into plays, you are going to play better. And so I totally, I just want to acknowledge how kick-ass that answer was. So we took note of all of this because there's like a discussion on social media, because your team made a post to put out the kind of statistics on assists and goals at CUCs for each of the mixed teams. So you broke it down by gender match. So what kind of instigated your team posting this online, and what have been some things that you've learned from the experience?
Yeah, so we actually did our own analysis just for our team, like from other tournaments throughout the season, so that we could see that we were kind of consistently achieving our goal. And it's not perfect. Obviously, goals and assists are only a part of the game and they're only a snapshot. But given our capabilities, that was kind of the most stats that we could measure. So we've been tracking this for ourselves throughout the season. And we sort of noticed a couple of times at CUCs where we felt like teams could have done better if they had used all of the players on the field. And we noticed that when we looked at the like scoreboard kind of leading at CUCs, that it really was just male or open matching players dominant. And there seemed to be very few female matching players. But we didn't want to make any assumptions, and Link is very thorough. So he went back through and he actually checked on Ultimate Canada each player, like how they had designated themselves, open or a female matching, when he kind of put together the stats. And initially we had discussed kind of putting it out without team names, just kind of putting the graphic to generally show the percentage of goals and assists that different mixed teams had, but without labeling it. But we kind of felt that for us, like in 2019, for us, we did not have equitable points scored or equitable goals and assists. The open matching players had significantly more. And the only way that you can notice that and improve on that is if you highlight it and see it. And so if we have this information and and we didn't share it with the other teams, they might not realize or know. And so we kind of felt like we can put it out there without any judgment or comments on a particular team, or we just kind of like look at the overall picture, and then teams have that information and they can do with it what they will. But we wanted to make sure that we kind of did highlight what we saw playing mixed this year.
We really enjoyed the graphics. First of all, it caught our attention, as Danie said. So thank you for, as someone who does graphics, I know how long that must have taken. And just to like make sure everything's accurate, like it's good stuff. So kudos to whoever made that. We'll give them a shout out. But of course, the next question we're going to ask is, what has been the reception and reaction from the community? I know there were some comments, but has there been teams even just reaching out to you personally, or players about things that they're going to do because of, or steps they're going to take because of the graphics and kind of the point of the post? Like, can you talk about some of the reaction there from the Frisbee community here in Canada?
I think mostly the reaction was pretty positive. Obviously, there are a couple of people who just disagree or don't think that it's a priority in Frisbee, and they let us know that as well, and that's fine, and that can be their opinion. But for the most part, people seemed interested to see the split and curious to kind of learn what they could do to kind of, I guess, help achieve sort of more equitable stats for their open and women matching players. The general perception seemed to be that the ceiling of your team is as high as the best ability of all of the players on your team. And so if you could figure out how to maximize the players on your team that you're maybe not using as much right now, then you would do better, whatever the kind of ceiling for that particular team was. So we did have kind of people leave comments asking questions about how we sort of achieved that and what we had done to work towards that. I don't think anyone has really let us know any specific things that they've done yet, but like we've kind of emphasized, it's a long process, and it's not something that anyone is going to be able to change or adjust overnight. So hopefully teams are reflecting on what they saw and taking time to discuss amongst their leadership groups if they think that's an important thing for them, to figure out how they could adjust or change going forward. And will maybe be a bit more aware, at least be in the back of their mind while they're planning or running systems next year.
I'm curious. Okay, so we had some people kind of slide into our DMs when we shared these graphics, and I know that not everything that was said was positive about it, I guess, and I kind of want to bring that up because I know that there was something that was commented on the post that I think got taken down or removed by the user as well, so maybe they recognized that it was an unhelpful thing to say, but I think the general tone was that they said, okay, well, look at the best performing teams and look how bad they did, and when referring to your graphics in terms of equitable scoring and assisting. And they said that it kind of defeats your kind of proposal that a more equitable distribution of goals and assists makes your team stronger, which I don't think was the intention of that message. I think the intention of the message, from how I was experiencing it, was that when you build a team and you invest in equity, the team itself will become stronger, and that we should start kind of building that culture from within, and it takes time. But I don't know how any of those things sat for you. I know this is kind of a little bit off of our planned line of questions, but like this type of stuff irks me. I think I'm pretty public about this. Whenever there's a highlight video of a woman matching player doing a sick huck, there's going to be 10 guys in the comments being like, travel. So I don't know how that landed for you. If you don't have any feelings, that's okay too.
Yeah, I think like for us, it's sort of, I think it kind of misses the point a little bit. I mean, one is if you're playing a mixed sport, then the experience on for the players and all of your team should matter. And so the experience of your women matching players will probably be better if they are equally involved as your open matching players. And like, we are all playing Frisbee for fun. So I think that's kind of like one point. And then I think the second point is like, yes, the best performing player teams at CUC had I guess, quote unquote, lower like equity, or at least their assists and goals tally was a bit more uneven. But I think like, and I won't speak on behalf of Crux because we didn't discuss this, but I think the ceiling for those teams is higher. Their individual players are generally speaking probably more skilled as a whole than some of the other teams that were at CUC. So yes, they did better without necessarily having equitable goals and assists, but they could have potentially done even better if they had maximized their like open and women matching players. And I think that is something that they might see a difference in if they played at a tournament with different or higher level of competition than they did at CUCs. So I think for like, if you look at us, our best season finish comparing like previous trajectories at Nats was this year. And when we had what was our best season in terms of gender equity for open and women matching players in terms of goals and assists. And so I think it's a little hard to compare teams that have different kind of skill caliber and say, well, this team did better than this team and they threw less women matching assists, and just say that that's like evidence that you should not have gender equity, because not all of the teams that compete at CUC, although they're all great teams, are of equal skill level.
Another great answer. You're crushing this. Okay, so couldn't agree more about it, everything that you just said there. So I would love to hear from you if you have any recommendations or tips or things that your team did specifically that other teams could maybe learn from, because I think if you've played mixed, you've probably been on the teams that are focusing on equity, and you've been on teams that have not focused on equity. And it can look different for everybody, but most people are like, I don't know what to do. And so if you have any things that are tangible that would help other mixed teams out there.
Yeah, I think kind of like we said a couple of times tonight is one, it's going to take time. So if that's something that your system is going to be committed to, then I think you have to prepare that it's not going to necessarily be an easy solution overnight. One thing that has kind of developed is, or I guess that Link was pointing out, was recruiting women matching players that can be leaders on a team or who are strong players. Oftentimes people will form a team and they will say, well, I just need enough women. There are just less women players. And so they'll say, I need enough, instead of kind of looking at like which women could join this team that will be strong leaders or strong players. And sometimes that's hard because there is just less women matching players, especially that are looking to play mixed. So sometimes that can be a hard thing to do, but keeping that in mind as you're kind of formulating your roster or you're looking for your leadership, making sure that you have at least one or two female voices within your leadership group or female matching voices within your leadership group is important. And providing lots of opportunity for your women matching players to develop. So that equal handler and cutter roles for your women matching players, that's how they will get better at throws and get more touches. And that is really important. And then it's also kind of a whole team buy-in. And that tone starts from leadership from the beginning of the season in tryouts. I know we had a couple players that we were kind of discussing as a team. And one of the like first things that kind of got you like an X beside your name, not when we were doing it, or kind of like a little question mark, was if we notice consistently as an open matching player, you're not ever looking for your women matching players, you're not throwing to your women matching players, you could be really, really good. But if you aren't going to involve all of the players on the field, then you're going to have a hard time playing in a team sport, from our perspective, at least. And so that was just like one thing that we were looking for. And so kind of by setting that tone from the start of the season, it's very clear to all of the players on the team that you are expected to be treating all the players on the team the same and involving all players on the team equally. And then the other thing is that in practice, all the players on our team have the opportunity to kind of practice everything. Like all of our women matching players throw hucks in practice. All of our open matching players run for hucks in practice. Obviously, people have positions and handlers and cutters, but again, kind of that equal distribution. And, you know, if you aren't looking for a women matching player who's consistently open in practice, you're going to be told that you need to change that. So I think just setting that tone and then as you set the tone as leadership, if the whole team kind of buys in, and then you kind of slowly can build that culture where it's kind of just an expectation. And if anyone did anything different, people would mostly just be confused.
Now, before Theo jumps in with his question, I want to say, because I know it's easy for people to say, oh, it's just goals and assists. That doesn't necessarily show kind of what's actually been happening in the game. But this is not you're not the only team that's done stats on this stuff. And there's lots of footage of high level mixed games. And there's lots of people who've been doing statistics on games, and the goals and assists are one stat, but it's a trend. Like it's not a secret. And it's not that like, oh, it's just goals and assists. The female matching players are doing literally everything else in the field. Well, that's just not true. And every study that has been done by people has shown that that's not the case. So it's out there. There's tons of articles on Ultiworld where they've done a lot of analysis on these games. So if you're interested in learning more about it too, all of that stuff is out there. It's super interesting. I think as a woman on the field, when I see that there's like stats to kind of back up how I'm feeling, it does kind of give me some vindication. It does give me something to kind of back up what I'm experiencing. And it shouldn't necessarily have to be that way, but sometimes it is. And I think it's helpful learning tools. So those things are out there. Theo, you're up.
Danie, you had some good points there. Sasha, you said something earlier that really piqued my interest, which was like, why wouldn't you throw to everyone on the team? And so that, like, or something of that effect. And that kind of like resonates with me. Like, if you're going to play mixed, like, you should involve everyone. So if you don't want to do that, then don't play like mixed. Like, that's just straight up. Like, if you don't want to involve everyone on the field, regardless, like open or female matching, like whoever, and you're just going to only throw to one, then just don't play mixed. That sounds kind of harsh, but like, mix is different because it involves the different genders. So just, yeah. If you don't want to do that, don't
harsh.
Sorry?
Does not sound harsh. Does not
That's
sound
all
harsh.
I'm going to say. Don't play mixed. We'll end on a more cheery note, I guess. Plans for the team, because, you know, you did your COVID thing. I saw that, like, during the pandemic, you guys were doing your team was doing, like, workouts and getting people involved. So clearly very active in the off season. And I know that there's a Hamilton fours team that's been pretty good from what I hear. So what's the plan for the team off season, and then looking forward to 2023? We'll be seeing you in British Columbia. Danie will be seeing you there.
Yeah, I think our plan for the off season, a lot of our players are playing in the university series right now. So we're taking a little break. The rest of our players get a deep breath. And then, yeah, we've discussed kind of doing some off season training, a little bit of fitness. And then we're trying to figure out if we can run some indoor practices, some indoor scrims for like our skill building. And then also we'll open them probably up to the general Hamilton community to enhance some of the skills around us. And like we said, that'll develop all players, but including women matching players that may come to our tryouts in the spring. And then we will continue to focus on all three of our pillars, including gender equity. So we've discussed already, like Danie said, that people will point out that goals and assists are just one part of the game. So we're hoping to try to incorporate even just an analysis for ourselves and for our team, further stats, because we can also still improve. We're not by any stretch like perfect or have solved gender inequity in sports. So we're also looking to continue to improve that. And in order to do that, we would like to have kind of some more data to see what happens on the field in between the goal and the assist. And then, yeah, going forward into 2023, we're hoping to improve on our finish. We have sort of a strong group core that played together this summer. So hopefully we'll have a lot of returning players. And hopefully kind of some of these results incentivizes strong players in the Hamilton region and around Hamilton area to come to our tryouts, especially strong women matching players that hopefully see that this is a system that will value their contributions that they make towards the team. And this would be a fun and supportive place for them to play.
I mean, what a pitch. I feel like if you're somebody that has been like mixed curious and you hear Sasha speak about kind of what's going on with Crux, this is kind of the type of system that I think that you should take a gamble on if you've never tried it, and or if you have had a bad experience with mixed, maybe finding out what the team's culture is before you do a tryout could kind of save you some stress. I love what y'all are doing. I hope that other players and teams and leadership listen to this and expand upon it. Not only like take what you're doing, but kind of find a way to make it their own as well. So really appreciate everything that your team has done. It's so important, and we really appreciate, hearing everything you had to say. You're awesome, and your answers were like perfect, like so good. Yeah. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Hey, c'est Phil Dorval, directeur technique pour Ultimate Québec, et vous écoutez le Huckin Eh podcast, votre guide pour l'Ultimate canadien d'un océan à l'autre.
So that's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We missed you over the break. Makes me feel really sad that we had a whole week where we didn't get to spend time with you. But Theo, any thoughts about our interview with Sasha? Any kind of like lasting thoughts?
Number one, well spoken. Like, come on. That was like fire answers. And I love the humility to be like, hey, just because we have done these things doesn't mean we're like there yet. Like, I don't know if people thought this of them, and I hope it wasn't the case, but just because they have these stats of their own team doesn't mean that they think they're there. There's always like chance to be better. So that's what I took away from that. It's like wanting to grow. And that's just a good sign of a human being. Growth mindset. Come on, get the book.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was the points really stuck home that culture is not something you can just decide to create. It's a long-term vision that you invest in. You got to plant the seeds and then water it and prune it, etc. Put a fence around it, protect it. Any other analogies I can use? No. But I like that part of it, because I think sometimes people can be really short-sighted in terms of these types of changes on a team. So really stick with it. It will make everyone on your team feel more valued. We love that. Theo, what are we talking about next week?
Well, first of all, you don't want Dane to go on one of her rants again, because I remember that UBC video that we put out that got like so many likes. It was sick. But the amount of travel calls.
What are you talking about? Oh,
remember that?
Yeah.
That UBC reel that we put out on Instagram, and LT World, we collabed. A little collab, collab action. And there were a lot of travel calls on that, and you went on a huge rant on the podcast. So let's not let that happen again.
I mean, it just happened.
Some people might like your rants.
Like B Ultimate posted a reel where Chewy hucks it, and she kind of like turns the corner and like takes a step and hucks. And there's just like travel. Oh my God, like totally. That's what I was thinking.
It happened on the Mika clip too.
It's like, why? What? I mean, you just told me not to do this, but it's just so frustrating.
Well,
like I see a clip.
I actually did that to fire you up. Really.
Anytime I see like a woman doing anything, I like click into the comments, and I it's, what is that thing called where it fulfills a bias that you have?
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, self-fulfilling. So I'm like looking for it, and then I find it, and I'm like, see?
But I think it's actually the same with videos, like people watching videos. I don't think it's just, I know it's more pronounced when, matching players are doing it, but if you watch any like big hucks, there's a lot of foot watchers in the comments that are just saying like travel, regardless of who it is. I think it's more pronounced, as you mentioned, in certain divisions, but people just love calling the travel. I don't know why.
It's like you're sitting on your couch. You probably are on your like city's D team, calling travel on a World Games 3 times World Games player. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna end Dani's rant here before she says more stuff that might get her in trouble. So
hey,
next week we'll be recapping.
No cities have a D team.
Sorry?
No cities actually have a D team, right?
Oh, they might. They might actually have a D team. So that could be the case. But regardless, we'll end Dani's rant here. Maybe you're on the city C team. I don't know. But we'll be recapping university tournaments. And so get ready for the uni season. We know that the uni kids love Huckin Eh. We love the university scene. It's going to be sick, especially when teams from both coasts, because Toronto ain't the East Coast, so both coasts coming together. Let's get it. So once again, follow us on Instagram, Huckin_A. We're still trying to get to hashtag 2K. I think we're not too far off right now, to be honest. So help us get there.
Are we going to do anything when we hit 2K? Are we going to give a prize or anything? Is that not really our vibe?
I still think we owe prizes from other things, so let's just...
Oh, that's true. We're really bad at that. If you ever win a prize from us, just don't expect that it's ever going to come.
Well, physical prizes, because subscriptions haven't dealt out for sure. Like,
we're 60 followers away. If you are our 2,000th follower, we'll do a special story or post, something digital for you.
We'll do a cameo, like the cameos.
Happy birthday!
We'll do a cameo for you. Wish you and your family happy birthday or some anniversary or something from the Huckin Eh podcast host. I don't know if that's even a value, but
I had a Haley Wickenheiser happy birthday or congrats on something cameo as a gift. It was sick.
Oh, that's actually cool. Cameo is cool.
Cameo is cool. Agreed. Okay. On that note, thank you all. And we will see you in the subscriber only section where Theo talks changes to mixed ultimate.
Well, I think both of us talk changes to mixed ultimate.
I'm done. I'm ranted. It's all out of my system.
Okay, well, I'll go on my quick rant here. So join us there.